While the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission announced winning MPs, opposition supporters protested on the streets. They claim results, which give the ruling party a commanding two-thirds parliamentary majority, have been manipulated. But the Electoral Commission says grievances should be taken to the courts.
The first remedy is to report any allegations to the police, and the second one is to approach the electoral court for recourse. And we want to encourage anyone who wasn't happy with the outcome to actually approach the electoral court, tell the electoral court what you saw, what you heard, what you dreamed of, and the electoral court will be able to come up with a remedy at your disposal if you're able to prove any of those things.
Regional observers have given Monday's votes the thumbs up.
Zimbabwe's 2018 harmonized election marked an important moment in the country's democratic transition. We commend the improved political environment and the peaceful and orderly and professional manner in which the elections were administered.
But that's in contrast with European monitors who noted an uneven playing field and expressed concerns over delays in the announcement of final results.
It is important that the final results are shared in a manner which provides for full transparency and accountability. And therefore, I would like to ask to do it so fast as possible. The results of the presidential elections were counted first in the polling stations. And therefore, I have still to learn why it will be published last.
The Electoral Commission is insistent on following the letter of the law, which requires that polling agents for all 23 presidential candidates inspect and verify results from all the polling stations before it proceeds to announce the outcome. That painstaking process means further delays, which could fuel the ongoing unrest. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Well, let's get to the very latest now from Zimbabwe. I'm joined from the capital, Harare, by CGTN's Valdi Carlser. She joins us from outside the MDC headquarters. Valdi, of course, let's just start with some of what you showed us in your report. Those scenes of violence really reminiscent of the Mugabe era. Just tell us what is happening there today. Is the situation calmer?
Lindy, the streets of Harare are practically empty today. We have just been driving around the central business district, which was, of course, the epicenter of that unrest yesterday. And we've seen truckloads of soldiers with their faces covered by balaclavas, beanies or towels. I mean, there's about hundreds of them just telling people to leave the city center and go home. I presume that's because the Electoral Commission has said that they will be releasing presidential results today. What time that is, we don't know. I do know that the Electoral Commission is briefing the media as we speak, so that's underway at the National Results Center. And I suppose they're trying to empty the streets so we don't see a reoccurrence of yesterday. Here at the MDC Alliance's headquarters, the offices are closed. The buses, the supporter buses, are empty. All you have are the water cannons and the trucks filled with police officers, basically either guarding the officers or stopping people from coming to gather here again today. And the other thing I should just tell you that happened in the past 2 hours or so are these series of tweets, 6 tweets from incumbent President Emmerson Mnangagwa, taking a far more conciliatory tone compared to yesterday. I'll read one of them saying the most important thing for us now is to move beyond yesterday's tragic events and to move forward together. This after expressing his condolences to the 3 people who were killed in yesterday's violence. He further said he's calling for an independent investigation into what happened yesterday. Now, whether that means this is the conduct of the army using live ammunition on unarmed civilians, or whether it's the violence caused by the protests by MDC Alliance supporters, it's not clear. He's just saying the perpetrators need to be brought to book. Who he thinks the perpetrators are remains to be seen. He continues and says, They've been in communication with Nelson Chamisa, that's of course the MDC Alliance's leader and presidential candidates, to discuss how to immediately defuse the situation. And maintaining dialogue is the way to peace, he's saying. And that's the first time these two have actually openly admitted to talking to each other. I guess they're putting the interests of the country ahead of their party political interests, Lindy.
And of course, Valdi, as we know, Chamisa had threatened to go to court over these election results. Have they done so, and what is the latest with that?
We asked the MDC Alliance's spokesperson last night what they would do depending on what the results announcement is. He's saying what we need to wait for is for Chamisa himself to decide what he will do. The other major development that's happening in Harare this afternoon is that Tendai Biti will be handing himself over to police. Why he's doing that, I'm not very clear about that, but I guess we will find out this afternoon whether or not this is part of the MDC's court processes, whether they are subjecting themselves to the letter of the electoral law in this case. We do know that they were charged by the Electoral Commission for campaigning after the closing time stipulated by the electoral law. So whether it's in line with that or if it's something else that BT is handing himself over, the fact that he has been accused of instigating the violence that we saw on the streets of Harare yesterday, we'll have to see as to why he's decided to hand himself over to police this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Valdi, for keeping us up to speed, joining us there from Harare, Zimbabwe.